Michael.
Hi, Allison.
We're going to discuss today, why should I participate in a clinical trial? And I really want to tell everyone that for me, this is really personal. My mother died of breast cancer about 17 years ago. And so I've participated in a couple trials where I've given blood or samples, answered questions. And that's I think a good thing for people to do if they can. It's a great role model for my daughter.
Yeah, I bet it is. It probably was inspiring. My mother died of colon cancer, and she was part of a clinical trial to try to understand that disease. And that along with our background motivates us to become personally involved. I know I donated blood to help in my research as part of a trial to really understand retroviruses of humans as well.
Yes, we have a strength in Alzheimer's disease here at UC Davis, and my mother-in-law passed away from Alzheimer's disease, and we donated her brain to UCLA at the time. That's where she was living. And so it's a way for people to give back, and it makes it really personal, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, because my sister has dementia right now and is struggling with that disease. And your research, your stories like that really help kind of give hope for patients that are experiencing that and families right now.
My hope is that we can get people excited about participating in research, and that we, can have the community come together. So, there should be a lot more patients who participate in research, because it's not all about taking a medicine. Some of it's just answering questions or giving a blood sample or donating things after you pass away. It's a way for people to give back to the community. And boy, COVID has really taught us about the need to give back.
And it's all of our communities, right? I mean, part of the role of the university, the land-grant university, is to serve all of our communities. One of the things we really need to do is get more people in our community, not just those that have the means, but also those that maybe don't have the means, but really need the information. And so, as you mentioned, there's a number of ways to be involved. It doesn't always mean an extensive amount of time even. It could be just answering questionnaires. And so, again, encouraging people to be involved, go to the website, ask questions. These are all things that I think both of our schools are doing.
I've been really excited. We had 3,500 people sign up for the vaccine.
Wow.
And one of the things that was really heartwarming was it came from a really diverse community, because the thing about research is we want to make sure that the people who are included in the trials represent all of the community. And so in California, for example, we have a large number of Latinx patients, and we want to know and be able to say that medicines work for everybody. And so that's really, really going to be important, particularly in a vaccine trial, that the people who are brought into the study are from a diverse background.
And we work a lot in the Central Valley with the animal agriculture workers and the workers that are really suffering from higher incidence of COVID in food production. So I think that we really need to understand those in those workplace settings, and to get them involved. This is really critical.
So I want to step back a second and really talk about what a clinical trial is. So first of all, they're usually studies, either collecting samples, or sometimes people are given drugs, sometimes people answer questions. It can be any number of things. Right now, we have a clinical trial for vaccines, and we have other clinical trials across a whole host of things, such as Alzheimer's disease, stroke, for autism. We have lots of ongoing research at UC Davis. All clinical trials are monitored too. I think that's really important. Maybe you can tell a little bit about the supervision, because I think people worry, and boy, they're highly regulated.
They are. And, it's interesting. We have parallel trials with our veterinary center for clinical trials for animals, in which patient-owned animals, and your dog, thank you, Hobbs, was part of our clinical trial in ophthalmology. We appreciated that contribution that you made through your puppy. But you're right. One of the very important things, and this came about from how it was done very badly, a long time ago, but then set up rules, and the rules of the Geneva Convention all the way through now, through very regulated institutional review boards that make sure that they have the right numbers of people in it, the right kinds of populations, because we know we have to have the populations in a clinical trial to reflect the populations affected by that disease. And that trust is gained through rigid control measures, meaning the safety testing to ensure that whatever they're doing is safe, to make sure that the trial participants understand what they're getting into. And all of these are various steps along the way. So it is very highly regulated, both by government as well as our university, to make sure they're safe and effective. And right now we're talking about a phase 3 type vaccine that's coming onto the market. And that phase 3 is part of that, has gone through that process of phase 1 and 2 to test for safety and efficacy before we really decide to release it to the public, whatever the therapy is.
So I've been an investigator, as you have, on many, many clinical trials. And one thing that struck me is that the amount of supervision is really much more frequent, more intense than a patient who's just treated in the clinic. So there's more blood draws, more visits.
Mm-hmm.
We're really using video visits in many of our clinical trials, particularly in Alzheimer's disease, to make sure that in the world of COVID, that the patients are still observed appropriately. So I think those are really important things. And, it's a chance to give back. So I look at it that way. It's a chance to give back to a community that's cared for our loved ones. And that, I think, is really key. So, there's a lot of ways to participate in research, and research is the way that we are going to come out of this COVID. It's also the way we're going to deal with some of these fires. So here at UC Davis, we have many investigators who are collecting samples and following up in a variety of ways, patients and animals, I know, who have been exposed to the fires. It's just another way that all of our community comes together. And really, that's what we're all about, is coming together as a community to improve health and fight disease. And the best way we can do that is by coming together to do research, because that's the way we're going to find the next treatment, the next cure, and that's the way we're going to improve health.
Yeah, you brought up several important points. One is both of our schools and in the entire campus, the investment in being ready and having the right kind of trained personnel. So these clinical trial coordinators, the staffing, I know your school as well as mine has invested in, because they do require more extensive, as you mentioned, blood draws, for example, so we can learn from our patients. And they do require specialized individuals that are trained to follow up, ask the right questions, gather the data, make the data available for researchers to investigate. And one of the interesting things about that in terms of developing that is you can take advantage of natural things. And you mentioned the fires.
Mm-hmm.
The LNU fire complex is the most recent. And we've had people in the field treating thousands of animals, and you've had patients in the clinic. But one of the things we learned from previous fires is that smoke inhalation, again, this is a team, a village of people investigating. One of our researchers found that cats exposed to smoke actually have cardiovascular problems later. And that parallels what happens in humans. And that's a good example, by not only treating the animals, but taking information and data and listening and following those symptoms leads to new investigations, new ideas of how we might protect people and animals in the future.
Well, the environment, the animals, the people, we're all intertwined and we're all attached. It's all one, as you said, One Health, which is such an important program that we've talked about in the past. I really want to encourage all of our listeners to think about if they could participate in research, and then go back to the fact that we have a vaccine trial We have actually several of our faculty have participated, our employees have participated. There's opportunities for individuals on the Davis campus to participate in research. It is something where you can really feel connected to the community, and we really want to bring our community in to what's going on at UC Davis, because that's what it's all about. You know, this idea of making it safe for our community and finding treatments and cures and sharing information. So I would like everybody to go to our website, our Deans Discuss website, and so you can list the trials there. And we welcome your suggestions and interest. It's one of the things that we feel that really connects us to the community.
And it's interesting, we use the same study pages in our clinical trials, the same software to explain our trials to the public. And I would encourage also those that are interested in any clinical trials for their pets or animals to also visit the website, both at Deans Discuss, as well as the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine page as well, and just look under hospital for clinical trials. And, you know, one of the important points also I wanted to make is when we're doing clinical trials in animals, because they have parallel diseases and cancer to infectious disease, a lot of that data helps animals, of course, that's our primary goal, but it also, that data is actually used by government agencies and can be very helpful to inform human clinical trials. And often our trials are done in parallel or in collaboration with your folks there at the School of Medicine. And these parallel trials and our motivation for our patients and their owners to come in and contribute both to animal and human health.
That's right. And so I just want to make sure that everybody goes to our website so that we can get everybody to participate. I'm thrilled to say that there were 3,500 people who volunteered for the vaccine trial. There's many, many other trials, and some of it is just giving a tube of blood like I did. Some of it's answering questions, and some of it is about a disease that someone may have that needs a treatment.
Exactly. You know, this is such an important, we touch on this in future podcasts, but it's been such an important conversation. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm Allison Brashear, the Dean of UC Davis School of Medicine. You've been listening to Deans Discuss COVID-19 podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.
And I'm Michael Larimore, Dean of the School of Veterinary Medicine here at UC Davis. We welcome your questions and ideas for topics for future episodes. You can email us at deansdiscuss@ucdavis.edu. In the meantime, you can also visit us at the ucdavis.edu/COVID-19 for the latest in COVID research news from UC Davis. So we'll see you next week.